While the field of life coaching is not regulated by any federal or state government agency, there are several self-regulating organizations that hold their members accountable to professional and ethical standards. Whether or not you are a member of one of these organizations, it is a good idea to share your own professional code of ethics with your clients so they can know what to expect and can feel safe within your coaching relationship. Professional ethics are a set of rules or boundaries that govern behavior in the context of a specific profession. These rules take into consideration more than just the relationship between an individual coach and an individual client. The boundaries also look ahead to the big picture. How does one's coach's behavior affect the coaching profession as a whole? If one person in a profession behaves badly, that creates a public distrust of every other member of that profession. Look ahead in the client's life and all the future relationships that are affected by the precedent set by the coaching relationship in this moment, and the coach's life and future coaching relationships. How will they be affected by any given decision? The coach can also look ahead to their future self. How do decisions made today affect the future self's life and coaching business? How does the decision affect the coach's ability to find new clients? How does it affect those clients? Code of ethics are developed to make day-to-day decision-making easier. Rather than considering every single decision from all of these perspectives every single time, a professional can refer to the code of ethics. To develop and embody a professional code of ethics, consider multiple possible scenarios ahead of time. Imagine the consequences of various decisions from within a relatively safe space and time. Throughout this coaching program, you'll be asked to consider situations and make ethical decisions. First, though, we'll look at existing coaching codes of ethics. We'll ask several questions about a code in order to really explore the reason for its existence. For each question, let's also apply the ethical principle of 7 generations. Oren Lyons, chief of the Onondaga Nation, writes, "We are looking ahead, as is one of the first mandates given us as chiefs, to make sure and to make every decision that we make relate to the welfare and well-being of the 7th generation to come." What about the 7th generation? Where are you taking them? What will they have? The International Society for Coaching Psychology, abbreviated ISCP, separates their code of ethics and the ways in which that code guides coaching practice. Their code of ethics is based on 6 principles, one of which is representation. ISCP writes, "Coaching psychologists represent themselves and their profession accurately and honestly. Their presentations show clarity and professional integrity. As members, we should show fairness in our interactions with all persons, be they our coachees or clients. We should seek to promote our professional integrity and the accurate representation of ISCP in all facets of our professional practice. As a member of ISCP, one should provide a fair and accurate representation of oneself, e.g., qualifications that indicate one's professional competence, knowledge, skill, training, education, and experience. The coachee, colleagues, and ISCP. For example, claim appropriate credit for one's professional contributions. Provide due acknowledgement to the contributions from others who collaborated on work, and avoid misleading the public, such as in advertisements or publications. Promote the reputation of the ISCP and coaching psychology as a profession. The ISCP Guide to Coaching Practice indicates that one way the principle of representation can be applied in coaching practice is to declare any possible conflict of interest in pursuing their duties. Now, we'll ask some questions to better understand the meaning of this statement, how it relates to representation, and how it might affect the next 7 generations. First, ask a question that helps clarify the code. What are possible conflicts of interest for coaches? Before we can know the conflicts, we need to identify the primary interest of a coach. What is your primary interest as a coach? Your answers will vary depending on your values and the lens through which you view coaching. Some of you might say, the empowerment of my clients. Others might say, supporting my clients to reach their goals. Whatever it is, It probably has something to do with your client because your coaching is rooted in the coaching relationship, and the coaching relationship is client-centered. Now, what interests could a coach have that might conflict with the primary interest of the coaching client? Well, if the coaching relationship is client-centered, then anything that centers the coach would conflict. What could center the coach? If the coach is, consciously or unconsciously, steering the client towards something that would benefit the coach. For example, if the coach also sells a product that might benefit the client, however, the sale of which would definitely benefit the coach. For example, if the coach also sells essential oils, supplements, or fitness equipment, the coach might be tempted to enthusiastically suggest these products to the client. The product might benefit the client. However, a sale would definitely benefit the coach. The guideline said to declare any conflicts of interest. So, what difference does it make if the client knows ahead of time that the coach sells essential oils? Well, what is the difference between before a coaching session and in the middle or after a coaching session? By the middle of the coaching session, rapport has been established. There is trust. The client has let down their guard and opens up to the process of coaching. Think back to your experience. Has anyone unexpectedly tried to sell you something when your guard was down? Maybe you felt obliged to say yes and buy something. You might later have had buyer's remorse and made sure your guard never came down in a similar situation again. Does creating an environment in which the client might refuse to trust serve the primary coaching interest? What happens if the coach declares the conflict of interest before the coaching session starts? What if that is the only time the coach even mentions essential oils, so as to avoid their conflicting motivations? Perhaps any discussion of essential oils can be initiated by the client. Does that serve the coach's primary interest of client empowerment? Now imagine what effect these two courses of action might have on the next 7 generations. You can think about the next 7 coaching sessions or literal generations. The point is to imagine the consequences and further consequences 7 times. What happens during the next 7 coaching sessions if the client declares the conflict of interest before the coaching session? Maybe trust, empowerment, autonomy, progress toward goals. Can you imagine it? What happens during the next 7 coaching sessions if the coach discusses the conflicting interest within the coaching session? Maybe the client doesn't show up to the 3rd session. Maybe the client continues to struggle with their goals and doesn't seek help. How do these consequences ripple out to the client's family? Does the coach learn from this decision, or do they continue on their course of action? How many other clients are affected? After 7 generations, how many people are affected by the consequences of this one decision? You could follow a similar process of questioning ethical codes to really deeply understand why they were adopted by professional coaching organizations. By the end of your coaching program, you will have a personally chosen professional code of ethics that you can use to make difficult decisions.